Oh, hello again. Uh, you know what? I just want to carry on reading these stories that I've written. This one is called Tightwad, and it was based on true stories, actually, because I worked in central London and I knew lots of people in central London. And we got together, and there was about six of us, and we used to go off and we used to have a really good drunken time in central London. And of course, we're talking about the late 60s, early 70s, pre-decimal. It A pint of beer was 1 shilling and 10 pence, and then after February 1971, it went to 20 pence for a pint of beer. And this was central London. And also, this is dedicated to my very good drinking friend, David Fairnington. This is called Tightwad, and it's written by me, read by me, copyright by me, Al Donaldson, and I hope you enjoy it. Nice bit of history, actually, nearly all true. You have to pick the bones out, what you think is true, but right. Okay, Tightwad. Journals are wonderful things. You can pick them up and dip into the past, very much like a time machine. I was just going through some boxes and I came across an old journal, or some old journals, lots of them actually. I opened one, and as I read, the memories came flooding back. I chuckled at what I'd written, who I was with, what I had done. I sat on the stairs, making myself comfortable. The task in hand had flown out of my mind. I got to the end, and something I'd written made me frown. I started looking for the next journal. I checked the date. Yes, this was the one. I studied each page for the answer. I went through the entire journal. No answer. But there it was, written in my spidery, drunken scrawl. June the 21st, 1971. A pub and club crawl in central London. And this entry at the end, borrowed £1. And a name, Barry Gates. I'd borrowed £1 and not repaid him. I was also so very careful to repay debts. I cursed the way I had drunkenly written the last page as soon as I'd got home and never reread it. As the day wore on, the non-repayment niggled me. £1 in 1971 was a lot of money. You could buy a lot of groceries for £1, but being a young man, my group were more interested in how many pints it would buy. At 20 pence a pint, a good time could be had. We band of brothers had gone from pub to pub, club to club in central London throughout our late teens, early 20s. We had a wonderful time. By the end of the day, what had seemed something so trivial had now exploded into a major incident. I had borrowed £1, and a wrong must be righted. I would find Barry and repay his loan. After much telephoning and emailing from old acquaintances, I managed to track him down. I rang his bell. A pleasant house in a nice area. He answered the door. "Can I help you?" "It's me, Barry. Thomas." He blinked a couple of times, stared hard, and a big smile creased his face. "It is." He pumped my hand. "Come on in." And he dragged me inside. Over a cup of tea, we caught up on what had happened in our lives. Eventually, the conversation stalled. I had the pound coin in my pocket to give him with a sorry, but it seemed ridiculous to give someone something that hardly had any value on its own. I mean to say, you can't even buy a cup of coffee with just £1. I told him about finding my old journals. We used to have some great times, didn't we? Yes, we were all young. It was the best of times. Do you remember the time we got drunk and climbed and sat on one of the lions in Trafalgar Square? I could see he was straining to remember. I tried to help. The policeman told us to get down. No, I can't remember that. Oh well. I looked at Barry's frowning face. I continued, "Never mind. Do you remember the other time when we got drunk and put that traffic cone on the head of one of the statues in Parliament Square? You must remember that. We were a band of brothers, always in and out of each other's pockets, borrowing from and lending to one another." For a moment, he looked like the penny had dropped. There was a smile, just for a moment, and a knowing nod. But he surprised me when he said, "No. You must remember, we got chased by a policeman. We just made it." "No." His face became stern, and his lips pinched together. I must admit, without the journals, I would have been hard pushed to remember. He must remember something of our time together. There'd been about 6 of us, up to all sorts of things. Well, you must remember that strip club we went to. You complained to the manager that the strippers' breasts were not very big and demanded a rebate, and we got thrown out. No, that wasn't me. I wondered just what he could remember. Had he been so drunk? Or had he early stage dementia? It seemed pointless to continue. I stood up. "It's been nice to reminisce," I said. Barry just grunted and said, "Have you come far?" I told him where I lived. He gave another grunt. I made for the door. I was just about to give him the pound, but what was the point? He couldn't remember. He opened the door for me and pressed something into my hand. "There's the pound I borrowed from you in 1971. As I walked down his garden path, through an open window, I heard him talking to someone. "He's come 20 miles to collect £1 he loaned me 50 years ago. It won't even buy him a cup of coffee. What a flipping tightwad." Hope you enjoyed that. As I said, it was some of the reminiscences of me when I worked in central London in the early 70s. Wonderful time. Anyway, if you like that, please like and subscribe and share. I'd be very, very grateful. Thank you so much indeed. Bye-bye.